Welcome to the Hidden Potential Podcast. I'm your host, Homer Hargrove, and today we are going to be talking about what it's like when you're new to leadership. We're going to unpack what to expect and how to succeed. Stepping into a leadership role for the first time can feel really exciting and overwhelming, and maybe even a little intimidating. It's where most of our insecurities come out, and you're no longer just responsible for your own success, but now you're here guiding others. So what can you do what can you expect as you begin this new chapter? And as we explore some of these common challenges that new leaders face, the mindset shifts that you'll need, and practical tips to set up for yourself up for success, we're also going to be talking about what it's like managing a project or leading a small team. Or maybe you're overseeing an entire department. This episode is packed with some actionable advice for new leaders. So here's a big thought as we get into today. Leadership is a journey, and like any journey, the first steps matter. Embrace the challenges, learn from the process, and watch yourself and your team grow. So let's jump into what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to give you 5 key things that you can expect as a new leader, along with some actionable tips to help you navigate each one. So number 1 is a shift in focus, and that is changing your focus from tasks to people. The first big shift in leadership is making this kind of mental shift from being task-oriented to people-oriented. And as an individual contributor, your success was mainly measured by the tasks that you'd complete. But as a leader, now your success is tied to how well you can guide and support and empower others to do their best work. So you have to expect to spend more time at building relationships. You have to spend more time at coaching people even and supporting your team members. Your role now is to help remove obstacles for them and to create environments in which your team can thrive. So again, you really, as a leader, you should strive to become this people person. You're not just a manager who helps manages tasks, but you're helping to lead a team, and you want to be able to connect with them on a real basis, to where they're not just following you because of your role, but because of the relationship you built with them, the example that you set. So a little tip: schedule some regular one-on-one check-ins with your team members and use these meetings to ask about their challenges and their goals and how you can support them. It's a simple practice that builds trust and helps you to stay connected to your team's needs. Let's go into number 2, feeling like you don't have all the answers. I feel like for me, that was a big struggle, especially early on in my leadership, and even years into it, was feeling like everybody else knew what they were doing except for me. And let's just get this out of the way. You're not going to have all the answers, and that's okay. A big thing that really inspired me is realizing that pretty much no one knows what they're doing. They're all just trying to figure things out as they go. And that's from big, huge corporations to small, little piddly leaders like us. And leadership isn't just about knowing everything. It's about asking the right questions. It's about collaborating. It's about being open to learning alongside your team, realizing that it's not about as much as how much knowledge you can retain, but how adaptable you could be in different situations. So expect moments of uncertainty. That's not a sign that you're a bad leader. It's just a sign you're a real human and that you're honest about not knowing the answers. Don't let these situations kind of shake your confidence, but remember, great leaders are learners. And when you're unsure about something, just be honest. Say that's a great question. Let me look into it. I'll have to get back to you. It shows humility. It builds credibility, and it encourages your team to be honest too when they're unsure of something. It helps foster that culture of growth and learning. Don't try to pretend. I really against the idea of fake it till you make it. Like, I get the concept of like trying to, present yourself as being confident even if you feel insecure. Yeah, that's all great and all, but trying to specifically fake it, act like you know what is going on when you don't know what's going on, just be honest. Say like, yeah, I don't know, I've never seen this before, but We're going to get through this together. You can still inspire even though you don't know everything. Number 3, balancing authority and approachability. As a new leader, one of the trickiest things to navigate is balancing that new level of authority that you have. You need to establish yourself as a leader, yes, but you also want to be a relatable and reasonable person. You have to be able to expect to set boundaries. You have to be able to make tough decisions, and you're going to have to hold your team accountable. That's that authority part. But also, you should foster open communication. You should build strong relationships as a leader, and make yourself approachable. If you think about the bigger an organization is, the bigger gap there is from the leaders to the common workers. And oftentimes, the common workers know what the real problems are to what's causing obstacles or situations, because they're the ones actually engaged. But because the leaders don't feel approachable, those problems just never get addressed, and they keep doing things in an inefficient way because there's the leadership has no approachability for people, for imagery's sake, at the bottom to be able to speak to those at the top. You want to be able to lead by example and be clear about your expectations, but at the same time, you need to be able to let your team know that you value their input. You might say things like, "I'd love to hear your thoughts on this," or "What's your perspective?" But you want to be able to show your expertise while still maintaining your role as a decision maker. While allowing yourself to still feel you could still be confident and ready to learn from your team at the same time. Number 4, navigating conflict and tough conversations. This can be really difficult, and there's been literal times where I've started out a conversation with a difficult conversation with saying, "Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush," and then I go on to beat around the bush because it was tougher to start the conversation than I realized. Leadership comes with its fair share of those tough conversations, whether it's addressing a performance issue or resolving conflicts between others. Giving constructive feedback, it's these moments that can feel uncomfortable, especially at first. But all that being said, they're crucial for growth. You need to be able to expect to face these kinds of situations. Do not avoid them. And don't label yourself as being too busy to address them when you're really just avoiding them because you don't want to have to deal with it. When handled well, these tough conversations can strengthen these relationships and really improve the dynamics of your team. Approach these conversations with empathy, with clarity, focus on the issue, not the person, and frame the conversation around building a solution. And you might say something like, "Here's what I've observed, and I'd like to talk to you about how we can address it together." It creates, try to create a more collaborative atmosphere, and it helps the other person feel supported. You don't want to go in there all hot and heavy and say like, "Look, you need to start doing this," and it's not going to work. If you want to be here, if you actually want that person to stay, then you should treat them like a human being. You should treat them with respect and help them to address try to address these issues as if you're imagining that you're their coach, and your intention is coaching them to get better at whatever it is the thing is that needs to be addressed. Y'all feel what I'm saying on that? Number 5, and then we're going to go into some takeaways, is managing your own growth and well-being. Leadership isn't just about managing your team, it's also about managing yourself. And you can expect plenty of moments of self-doubt, of pressure, and this need to juggle multiple responsibilities at once. But remember that you really don't have to do this all at once. Leadership is this journey. It's not a sprint. You have to give yourself permission to grow and allow yourself to learn along the way. I've found that there's been times where I literally felt so insecure about my leadership that I felt like I had to almost like prove myself in these other ways. Almost like I had to work extra hard to prove that I could deserve to be a leader. And I think that really being able to manage your identity, your insecurity, your confidence, it's a lot to handle all at once, especially if you feel like you went from being a nobody to all of a sudden you're in charge. And you should invest in your own development. You should read leadership books. You should attend workshops. You should connect with mentors and other leaders who can offer some guidance. And you should really prioritize your well-being. A leader who is burned out can simply not effectively lead others. You're going to unintentionally hurt people if you're so strung out you don't know what to do with yourself. You need to be able to make some time for rest. You need to make time for reflection, and you need to make time for things that recharge you. You should start structuring your routine to give yourself specific time for rest. Now, look, I want to be clear in saying this. I think that there's a balance, because sometimes early on in leadership, if you are ambitious and you're trying to like really hit the grind, your rest is going to look different than if you're a couple years in. Okay, so at the beginning of my leadership, I was out there for everything and trying to do everything that I could, and really borderline exasperating myself. That was also when, I was just married with no kids. After having kids, I had to change my dynamic. I had to specifically make time for rest and time for my family, and emphasize these kind of boundaries around my schedule so that I could protect not just myself, but the people I cared about. And if you allow yourself to be, in a sense, boundless in not taking care of yourself, you might be able to handle it. For me, like, there's times where I can handle it. I can feel burnt out and just keep going. But then I would realize I was way more impatient with my kids, or I would stress them out more, even though I thought I could handle it. I didn't realize I was stressing them out too in the process. So really learning how to manage your time, manage your growth, and allow yourself to take these kind of incremental steps of reasonable rest given your situation, given your lifestyle. And as like another extra tip from me to you, there's simply a time where I have a cutoff to where I am not allowed to work after this time. And after this certain time, whether it's emails, texts, even projects that I could be working on, I simply say, after this time, I'm not going to pick up my phone. I'm not going to do anything. Sorry if you can't reach me. But the reason I do that is because it's real easy for things to just kind of compound to where I never had a moment to decompress. I never have a moment's rest. And very quickly, this snowball effect happens to where I went from feeling fine, I can do it, to I'm totally burnt out and I don't know when's the last time I took a break. It's really important to learn how to manage your own growth and your own well-being. So that being said, let's recap with the 5 key things to expect as a new leader. Number 1, you'll shift your focus from tasks to people. Number 2, it's okay not to have all the answers. Be open to learning. Number 3, find the balance between authority and approachability. Number 4, don't shy away from tough conversations. They lead to growth. And finally, number 5, prioritize your own growth and well-being. So all that being said, leadership is a journey of progress. It's not of perfection. Not one person is perfect, so don't imagine that you have to be perfect. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow, and every win, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. So if you're stepping into a leadership role, I want to remind you that you don't have to figure it all out on day one. Leadership is about learning, adapting, and staying committed to growth. And if this episode resonated with you, if you felt like it was helpful for you, I would love for you to be able to share it with somebody that's starting out their own leadership journey. And if you leave a rating or review, it really means a lot to me. It helps others be able to see this show in their feed. And all that being said, until next time, have a great life. Well, there you have it. I hope that this episode was meaningful and edifying for your leadership and your growth within your ministry and organization. Could you do me a favor? Could you leave a rating and review for this podcast? It'd really help me out and help others be able to see this show in their feed. You can also visit homerhargrove.com to be able to learn more, connect, or become one of our supporters. Until next time, have a great life.